So, there are two main genetic contributions to disease. The first one being inheritance. So, disease can be caused by a change or a mutation in an individual's DNA sequences, and the four types of sort of disorders due to inheritance are single gene inheritance, multifactorial gene inheritance, chromosomal abnormalities, mitochondrial genetic inheritance disorders. And an example of these are the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 gene mutations, which predispose women to breast cancer and ovarian cancer. The other one is genetic susceptibility. So this is an increased likelihood of developing a disease due to the genetic makeup. So it's not just sort of one gene that causes it, it's the collective effect of the whole genome. So it's often an interaction between the genes and the environment themselves, and research has shown a strong association between genetic polymorphisms and susceptibility to common infectious disease phenotypes such as HIV. A good way to study this is through twin and family studies, because we can study heritability this way. But it's important to remember that it's not a death sentence having genes. It's there's interactions with the genes and the environment. So genetic variations exist, but they're also related but the disease risk is only sort of like related based off human behaviour. So for example, some people who smoke get lung cancer, some people who smoke don't get lung cancer. And this can be all due to a certain gene that we have. So like some people could have this. So I think it was, I don't know if I wrote it down. Yeah, so XRCCI is a mutant genotype that had a 50% reduction in lung cancer risk in people even if they were heavy smokers. So like you could have 4 people, 2 of them don't have this mutation, 2 of them do have this mutation. One of the people who don't have the mutation smokes, one of the person who doesn't have the mutation doesn't smoke, one of the person who does have the mutation smokes, and one of the person who does have the mutation doesn't smoke. So the 2 people with the mutation, they've got obviously a reduced risk, because for one, with the mutation, they've got a 50% reduced risk, and then without the mutation and without smoking, they've got an even lower risk. Then you've got the 2 other people without the mutation. There's the one person who doesn't have the mutation but smokes, and then the one person who doesn't have the mutation but doesn't smoke. The person who does smoke is even more likely than the person who doesn't smoke to get cancer, even though that person already has that gene that makes them more susceptible. They've got a reduced susceptibility because they're not actually smoking. That may have been very complicatedly said, but that's the general idea. So, genes affect disease risk. They don't cause the disease, they just affect the risk of developing the disease. So there are quite a few ways that they can do this. So there can be genes which cause predisposition for actually the initiation or the development of a disease or catching of an infection. There are genes which are involved in the progression of disease and might cause it to progress significantly faster in one person than in another person. There's genes which will affect your response to treatments and therapies to treat these diseases. That's why people tend to have personalised medicine now. There's genes which affect how people respond to certain environmental stimuli. So certain environmental risk factors can have different responses to them due to the genes. And then there's genes which sort of affect a person's overall longevity.